approach. We welcome to the 9 Alameda County Public Defender, Brendon Woods. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
129 homicides this year in Oakland. That is 20 more than in all of last year. You say more police aren't the answer. Tell me why.
Yeah, so historically, we've always responded to crime and violence by adding police. That's what we do as a natural gut reaction, but there's been no evidence presented at any time that shows that policing or incarceration or more prosecution is a solution. As a matter of fact, I think it leads to more crime. If we continue to add this sort of controlling force, this oppressive force to communities of color that need different help, we're going to end up with the same results we keep having over and over again.
What you're proposing seems like it's a much more long-term solution, if it is in fact a solution. Many Oaklanders will tell you this city is in crisis. We saw a 2-year-old killed in the backseat of his car on 880, the security guard killed in downtown Oakland protecting a news crew, the woman shot and killed in front of the Fox Theater at 2 in the afternoon. I understand the need for a good long-term look at Oakland, but people will say, I'm not going downtown now.
Oh, absolutely. So I understand the knee-jerk reaction that's based on fear and what's happening in our communities. We see it on the news all the time. We see the homicides, we see the retail thefts, the videos played over and over again. I was just watching the show now and seeing how the media brings out the crime that's happening, but that is not going to be what ultimately keeps our communities safer. It might be a short fix, in a very short fix, we say, oh, we feel better. You feel better when you go downtown to go shopping at Nordstrom, or you feel better when you go to a certain neighborhood. But that policing force is going to end up in low-income Black and brown communities. There'll end up being more police violence. There'll end up being more people who are Black and brown who are arrested for petty crimes, and it will not build a way that we can get to long-term solutions. And that's what we need to do. So I understand that need for increasing, but we have to focus on community-based solutions that are going to make us better long-term. And there's evidence that suggests that those solutions work. And we can't just be talking about this small little investment. It's got to be sustained investments in community-based organizations that are on the ground and will change the perceptions and the way these communities operate.
Yeah, I mean, look, I spend more daytime hours in Oakland than any other city for the past 16 years. I have always heard OPD, the various mayors saying we need community-based solutions. We need to work together, Operation Ceasefire, et cetera. What are you proposing that's new that we haven't been talking about for almost 20 years now?
So we've been talking about it. We've been talking about solutions a lot, but we haven't put in the sustained funding to make them work. You have to fund it properly. And if we think about the amount of money we're spending on the police department, $350 million annually, we need to be spending some sort of sustained matching investment in our communities.
So
if we don't do that, then we're not going to.
Do you take money from OPD to fund this proposal? Because Oakland doesn't have money sitting around somewhere.
You're absolutely right. So I think you have to put the investment in both, and then you begin to draw down in the police investment. And we know that there are things that we've done in the community that have worked. Like in New York, they did a random study where they just increased street lighting, and that reduced violent crime at night by 36%. Cleaning up vacant lots in Philadelphia, it corresponded to a 29% reduction in violent crime. The violence interruption programs, credible messengers, always reduce violent crime. So we have these solutions that are long-term. And then we talk about this recent spike that we've seen, and we forget that this has occurred in the backdrop of a national pandemic. A national pandemic, and even prior to the pandemic, we had issues that we weren't addressing properly. The biggest issue before the pandemic was housing insecurity, and that has been exacerbated during the pandemic. Another big issue was mental health, and that has been exacerbated during the pandemic. If we don't commit to putting real resources to solve those problems, no amount of money we spend on policing will make us safer. And I always got to come back to the community groups. They are there, they are present, and we have to change the narrative around who is patrolling and policing and controlling our communities.
Do you have the mayor's ear? I mean, even just the better lighting idea that's proven to be effective in other major cities. Have you talked to the mayor? I mean, whose ear do you have on the city council? Because that does seem like a relatively inexpensive, easy solution.
Sure, and it's not just, and I'm not sure whose ear I have, but thank you for having me. Maybe I'll get some ears now. But there are not just the lighting, but the studies have shown that the increasing funding or the amounts of nonprofit groups community organizations will lead to a reduction in crime. One nonprofit group that focuses on this issue in a city of about 100,000 reduces violent crime by 1%. You add 10 nonprofit groups, that reduces violent crime by 10%. These are solutions that work, and we have to commit to long-term sustained funding to make our communities safer.
Okay. Well, Brendon Woods, we could talk about this for 10 hours. I appreciate your dedication to the city of Oakland. I'll tell you, nobody cares more about this city than the people who live and work here. So it's an ongoing conversation, and I thank you for being part of it today. Brendon Woods.
Thank you, Brandon.
Of course.